on leadership.
Okay, Brother Burnett. So first of all, thank you. And, it's always, a great opportunity for me to spend time with young men because it's a great reminder for me that at one time in life, I looked like you. One of the things I want to cover about leadership, and before I get into that, let me describe who I am, because there's always a good question: who is Rod Atkins? And I guess a simple way to think about it was when I was in high school. I always wanted to be either a politician, an athlete, or an entertainer. And it turns out, I wasn't savvy enough to be a politician. And although I was pretty good at athletics, I really wasn't talented or gifted enough to be an athlete. And I don't think I was flamboyant enough to be an entertainer. But it turned out I was actually special enough to become an engineer. And I actually became a pretty good engineer. And when I have a chance to talk to young men like yourself, I typically get 4 or 5 questions. So let me sort of share a few of those questions up front. The first question I usually get is, what type of car do you drive? And, the answer I always give back is a really nice one. The second question I usually get is, how much money did you make, or how much money do you make now? And the answer I usually give back to that question is a lot. The third question I get is, where do you live? And I'm a little bit more specific with that answer, and I typically say on the beach. And then my favorite question is typically, what type of music do you listen to? And it turns out I actually enjoy an assortment of music ranging from gospel, R&B. I do love jazz, but I also love rap and trap music. So I love a combination of different types of music. And then the fifth question, the final question is, what does success look like to you? And over the years, I've come up with an answer that says, success to me looks like when more young Black men like yourself who can, have the same answers to the first 4 questions that I had. So that's what success looks like to me. So one of the things that, and I'm sure you hear this from my brothers, as it relates to National Kappa League Leadership Program, everything in life sort of starts with leadership. And the Kappa League is really about how we prepare young men for leadership. And in Kappa, you must be a good brother before you become a good leader. And so how I like to think about leadership is, bad leaders believe people work for them. That's actually a bad leader. A good leader believes people work with them. But we all should strive to be great leaders, and a great leader believes that they work for the people. And that's sort of one of the hallmarks that I've always tried to follow. The other thing I usually like to do is I usually like to ask a question, and I'm going to pose a question to everyone in terms of, and I know you guys are at an age, but how many of you have heard of a singer called Jimi Hendrix? And you really don't have to answer the question, but I usually like to tee that up. I know all of my brothers know Jimi Hendrix, but the reason I always tee up Jimi Hendrix is because it turns out Jimi was a popular entertainer in the 60s. But what a lot of people don't know, his main stage career, in terms of the length of his performance, it only lasted for 4 years. This is a man that achieved greatness in 4 years. And even today, when you talk about some of the greatest guitar players of all time, Jimi Hendrix is always in the discussion. And he accomplished that feat in a 4-year period. And the reason why I'm bringing up Jimi Hendrix is because he actually says something very powerful, and it has become my leadership guiding principle. And what he said was, knowledge speaks, but wisdom listens. So let me just repeat that. Knowledge speaks, but wisdom listens. So young man, this has sort of been one of the foundational principles of leadership that, you know, throughout my business career, I've always sort of held close to me, that knowledge speaks, but wisdom listens. And so this has allowed me to really think about leadership 3 ways. First, know when to listen. So the key word there is listen. Know what to learn. So the second key word is what to learn. And then the third area is know how to leverage. So the third word is leverage. So think about leadership equals sort of 3 key words: listen, learn, and leverage. So when I break down, what does listen mean? Well, listen means surround yourself with knowledgeable people. Because, you know, in life is really about how you are constantly learning things through and from others. So always try to surround yourself with knowledgeable people. The area of learn. And my favorite word in the whole world is curiosity. So stay intellectually curious and commit to lifelong learning. You know, even at my age, where I had a successful career at IBM in the technology industry, you know, I still spend a lot of time learning new things because my view is you never stop learning. So it's really about how do you commit to lifelong learning, because you can always be better. The third word, leverage. And what I mean by leverage is how you effectively get things done with and through people. Because really life is really about how well you can team and collaborate, whether it's at sports, whether it's in business, whether it's in just social activities, but it is really how you get things done with and through people. So just remember, my viewpoint around leadership is listen, learn, and leverage. The last question that I'll pose you with is, as you can tell, I like music. One of my favorite rappers is a guy by the name of Coolio, and I know you guys listen to you know, an interesting menu of rappers, but Coolio was one of my favorite rappers because he, in one of his songs, he said, "They say I need to learn, but nobody here to teach me. If they don't understand, how can they reach me?" And I always thought about those being very powerful lyrics. And I've always associated those lyrics with our Guide Right program, because this program, you know, our Kappa League program is all about the fact that we understand you because we are you. You know, we've been where you are today. So, you know, it is all about, you know, the things that we can do to allow you to be much greater young men throughout this journey of life. So sort of in closing, if you take away one thing from what I'm talking about, remember leadership is about, you know when to listen, know what to learn, and know how to leverage. That is simply leadership, and those guiding principles have allowed me to do pretty well in life. And with that, Brother Burnett, I'll turn it back over to you, but I just wanted to just share just briefly my thoughts and my views on leadership.
Well, thank you, Brother Atkins. And again, I would like to encourage, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Atkins in regards to his career, his leadership? You don't often get this kind of opportunity. Probably did not do as well of a job as I should in introduction, but you could think of Mr. Atkins as being the Michael Jordan equivalent of the business world, okay. Which means he's doing it all, he's done it all, and he's the best that there is. So you don't often get an opportunity to ask questions. Zaire, see you raise your hand. Go ahead and you should be able to come off mute.
Zaire, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good.
So I have a two-part question.
Okay.
One, did you have a good, support network as you were working on becoming who you are now?
Okay.
And then the second question, which is related to that, is now that you are where you are, do you still go back and talk to, if they are still here, the people who helped you get to where you are?
Okay, so Zaire, those are excellent questions. And I'll probably mix the two questions up as I respond, but I remind myself each day who I am and where I came from. And I actually grew up in a very challenging environment. I grew up in Liberty City, Miami, where, quite frankly, each and every day was a challenge because of the environment. And I would say I had a very strong support network. My network started with a family that we didn't have much. We really didn't have much, but we had values and we had principles as a family. And then I also benefited from the fact that a number of my teachers, they were members of Kappa Alpha Psi. And I remember these were really role models in my life, and I always had the aspirations of I wanted to be like one of them one day. Johnny Jones, who was the school attendant, superintendent for the schools here in Miami-Dade County. Eric Jenkins, my art teacher, who was a Kappa. And one of my counselors at the YMCA was a Kappa. And then I was big in martial arts when I was growing up. So my sensei, or my martial arts teacher, was very instrumental in my life. So I really had a strong support network as I came through the neighborhood. And at the time, I didn't really have the benefit of a Kappa League program, although the programs were available in my area. But I was much more dedicated to martial arts and my academics. And, thinking back on things, I really wish I had the opportunity to leverage the type of opportunity that you young men have today. But there were Kappas constantly throughout my life in terms of my support system. And then when I got to college, there were a number of people that ended up being my mentor. And then when I was in the work world, when I was working for IBM as an engineer, I had a number of professional mentors. Again, some of them members of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity as well. So I had a very, very strong network. And I ended up, from a career perspective, being actually in IBM's 100-year history, being the first Black or African American that became one of the top 5 executives in the company. And so that you know, IBM is a company that is made up of 450,000 employees. IBM operates in over 200 countries around the world, and IBM as a company generates over $100 billion in terms of business or sales revenues. And my job at IBM, at one point I had a third of the company, so I was responsible for about $30 billion of what IBM did annually in terms of sales. And at one time, I had over 200,000 of the 450,000 employees working for me. So, and most of those employees were computer scientists and engineers. So I had a very, very good career, actually a great career at IBM. And now today, I sit on what is called boards of large companies. And you know, having a very successful career, it has allowed me to continue to develop as a leader. So I sit on a board of a company that you guys probably know, PayPal, which has the application Venmo that you guys use all the time to send around cash. So I sit on that board and advise them in terms of their strategies and what they should do as a business. I sit on the board of a company called UPS, which most of you probably have received packages from. And UPS is one of the top 10 largest companies in the world. And then I'm also the chairman of a company called Avnet, which is a information technology distribution company. And I also sit on the board of a company called Grainger. So that's what I'm sort of doing in this second chapter of my life. So and today I still have a strong network where I continue to talk to people that's knowledgeable. And remember the point I made, know when to listen. So I follow my own advice and I constantly surround myself with knowledgeable people. And my second point, when I talk about know what to learn, I am constantly learning something new every year. You know, so I am just constantly taking myself to the next level. Your second question is a very important question. I go back to the neighborhood. You know, so I do spend time in the area I grew up in here in Miami. The other thing I do is I've been fortunate enough to make enough money. So at a number of schools, I actually have scholarships in my name that these scholarships go to young men that look like you, that demonstrate academic excellence, and these scholarships pay for their college tuition. So these are some of the things that I do just to remind me of the fact that I've been blessed. So I share my blessings, which is what I'm constantly focused on. The second thing I've been doing is there is a new museum in Washington, D.C. It's called the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture. And I sat on the Smithsonian Board of Directors for a number of years. So one of the projects that I am very proud of was I was part of watching the construction and the development of that museum over the last 12 years. And it is now the world's most, I'll call it busiest and the world's most active museums in terms of the number of people that flows through that museum. And that museum talks about our history, our culture, and the role that African Americans played in building America. So it is a great way to tell our story in terms of the role that we played in America's history. So hopefully I answered your question, but yes, I had strong support along the way, continue to have strong support. Yes, I give back to the community. So when Brother Burnett and others ask me to spend some time with you, I actually look forward to doing that because hopefully if you just take away a small piece of anything I said, and hopefully it will have some impact in some way in your life. And so my focus in life at this point is really to give back as much as I can to make sure that we have more people that look like me capturing the various opportunities that various business environments and industries have to offer. So hopefully I answered your questions, Zaire.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Atkins?
I have a question.
Hello, I have a question.
Yes.
Sure.
What type of engineering did you concentrate on?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, it was electrical engineering, but I actually have 3 degrees because I was pretty good in math and science. And one of the things I do today is I advocate STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So my first degree was in physics. So I went to a school called Rollins College, which is located in Winter Park, Florida. So I went through the physics program. My second degree is in electrical engineering because I love computers, and my success in my career was actually building large systems. And then I also have a degree in computer science. So physics, electrical engineering, and computer science. And it sounds like those are 3 separate things, but you know, if you remember from math, these things called Venn diagrams, there's a lot of overlap between the 3 things. So incrementally to do the 3 degrees, it wasn't like doing 3 different things. It was more like doing, you know, in aggregate, two different things. So that's my background.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Yes.
So you talk about when an athlete and so how did you come upon engineering as your final destination when you were deciding career?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I was very active in a number of things, including athletics. But I realized early, and then others realized for me, that I always had this interest in understanding how things work, how to build things. As a matter of fact, I had a tough childhood at times because I would experiment with things at home, you know, by taking things apart. And most of the time I was able to figure out how to put it back together, how it came apart. So in those scenarios, I did okay, but there were scenarios where I would take things apart and it didn't go back together quite right, and my parents wasn't too happy about that. But those were the types, that was evidence in terms of that I was very interested in how things work, how to build things. And then when I discovered that I was pretty good at math and science, and then after spending time with my counselors and some of my mentors, they suggested that computer engineering should be an area that I should consider. And by the time I got to I think it was either my junior or senior year, I started to take up more interest in terms of understanding electrical engineering and computer science. So I knew at some point that's where I would be headed, because I always had this deep interest in terms of how things work. So when I finished my engineering and all of my college work, you know, I was able to work on some really, really neat projects in IBM. I was actually the guy that worked on IBM's first mobile or laptop computer. I ran the design team that introduced the product called the ThinkPad, and it was our first mobile computer. And that's when I actually had the opportunity to spend time in places like Japan, working with our lab in a place called Yamato. I was also the person that drove IBM's business, and today we call it IoT, Internet of Things. So I helped IBM build different types of smart devices as part of my career. And then the last big thing I worked on before I left IBM was a product called Watson, which some of you may have heard of, but it was the computer that in 2011 played on national TV, and it played the game Jeopardy against some of the best Jeopardy champions. And of course, the computer won. So I've actually had sort of the opportunity to work on a number of things along the way. But yeah, a lot of this was just grounded in just my overall interest in terms of how things work, and then how you can make, hopefully to build solutions to make the world a better place. So, and I just continue to build on that theme.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from you? Appreciate you, and
Yeah.
I cannot let you leave without telling my story.
Okay.
And so just for you gentlemen, just so you know what kind of person he is, not only is he highly successful, but a little over a year, I guess, well, it's been over a year ago, I approached him and didn't really probably know who I was. I knew who he was, but I had my mother, who was, for her 91st birthday, her desire was to go to the Smithsonian African American Museum in Washington, D.C. And if you've never been, tickets are pretty hard to come by. And so I reached out to Brother Atkins, and he was able to help us secure tickets. And it's something, you know, my mother has never forgot and talks about to this day. And so again, I can never thank you enough, Atkins. Again, that's just kind of person he is. For somebody he probably didn't even know, he was willing to help. So I appreciate that. I'm always going to tell that story about you.
Okay.
Just appreciate you so much.
All right. Well,
So,
you know, I'm always humbled by stories like that, because, you know, I try to do things because I can. And hopefully, as you guys walk away from this conversation, that's what this is all about. You know, so when you think about our national Kappa League program and the time you get to spend with the various brothers from Kappa Alpha Psi, just really take advantage of these moments, because again, you can always learn from others. And we all sat in the chair that you sit in today. A lot of us still see ourselves in you, and it is our obligation, and it is our job to make sure we give you all of the tools and capabilities to be great men and do some great things in life. So with that, is always my pleasure speaking with you young men. Folks know how to find me, so if you're looking for me, you know, I'm really not that hard to find, and I'm typically pretty responsive in terms of responding to folks. So good luck, and you know, Godspeed.
Thank you, Brother Atkins.
Okay.
All right, we're going to jump into here is advanced leadership on how to be a leader, how to lead projects, understanding group dynamics, and want you to be able to understand leadership and prepare to be a dynamic leader. Expectations are for you to attend and engage in sessions, prefer that you have your video on, particularly when you're speaking, complete your assignments, and keep a journal, whether that's electronic on your phone or whether that is on paper, on key points that you get in each session. We're going to do a quick review. If you go to the next slide. So again, what is leadership? We covered this in the first session. Leader, someone who influences others to a decision. You must have others, a group, team, organization, to be a leader. You have to lead, someone has to follow. I won't run through the myths. If you go to the next slide, we'll talk about the types of leadership. The first we talked about was a directive leadership style. That's when the leader initiates action, structures activities, motivates others, delegates authorities, basically leads in front, gives orders, statements. So again, one example, we talked about when you want to use this type of leadership style is an emergency. Again, if I'm the one that's familiar with my house and you are at my house and it catches on fire, you want me or someone that knows house to tell you how to get out safely. We don't want to stop and have a discussion and a vote on how we get out safely. You want to take action and move. Next slide. The second type of leadership style we talked about was, are we there yet? Sorry, yeah, if you go to slide 6. Or do we all have directive? Did I mess up the slides? Let's see here.
Yeah, number 6, is that the right one?
Yeah, let's see. We just did that one. Go to 7. Go to 8. I'm sorry. So we talked about, anyway, I'll go back through. So we go back through the different leadership styles that we had. A directive leadership style. We had supportive leadership style, which a supportive leadership style is what you're going to use when you have more experienced people, when they have more trust, when you respect their feedback. You're not the only one that knows everything. The third leadership style was a coaching leadership style, and that's where you act very similar to a coach. You teach, you try to develop, you try to support, you take some input back from your followers, but you're working on a broad overall strategy. And the last leadership style that we talked about was a delegating leadership style. And delegating is when you have people that are maybe know as much or more about you on a subject, and you trust their opinion. So again, you kind of set the overall framework, but you let them kind of get together and decide and make a decision. So a good example, of being a totally delegating leadership style would be, again, if someone knew more about, if you were in a place that you weren't familiar with and you were a leader of the group and you had 3 or 4 other people that had been there before and knew their way around, then when you're trying to make decisions on where to go or how to go, you're going to give them more of the authority to help you make that decision on, this is where we should go, this is how we should get there, this is the route we should get there. So again, and then we came to the final part of it, which was a situational leadership style, which means that different situations require different leadership styles. And so that means there may be one time when you're dealing with younger siblings, that you need a directive leadership style. And you need to tell them, hey, you need to do this. Our parents left me in charge. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. And it's a very directive style, and you have the responsibility. If you're maybe a situation where you need a coaching leadership style, where you're trying to help teach somebody else how to do a particular skill or activity, and that would be more of a coaching style. You're going to take some feedback from them. Are you understanding how I'm showing to do this? Does this make sense to you? Supportive leadership styles, again, something more along, and we talked about being a team captain. or maybe, you know, you're getting a lot of input from the people you're leading, but you're still the one that's kind of helping to make the final decision. So different leadership styles, you do them at different times, and you change leadership styles. And, you know, we talked a little bit about Winston Churchill and him not being able to adapt his leadership style. And he went to, you know, to being a world leader, to be someone who lost an election after winning World War II. And so those are things that happen, you know, if you're not able to adjust your leadership style. So there's not one style that works in every situation. If you go to slide 9. And so one of the things we want to talk about is leadership, and leadership reveals character. So one of the things that is very true is that when you give someone some leadership and authority, as the quote said, if you really want to know about somebody, give them a position of authority. And that really reveals what they're like. And so, you know, my question to you is, if we take some, you know, I'd like to get some input from you. Give me a leader, somebody that hopefully everybody knows, and then tell what being in a position of leadership, what that has told you about their character. Someone want to come off mute? Who raised their hand? Zaire, go ahead, you first.
A person who was in a leadership position that I know of was Nelson Mandela, and I would say that he did very well with that leadership, with the leadership that he was given and that he gave out. And I would say that it showed that he was naturally, I wouldn't say he was just 100% like a great person. I would say he did a lot of good things.
One of the things you could say about Nelson Mandela, and one of the things you could say what leadership revealed about him, is that despite him being mistreated and imprisoned, when he came out and when he became a leader and became head of the government, he did not try to take revenge on some of the people that had put him in that situation. And so that revealed a lot about his character. I have someone else have a hand up that wanted to give an example of leadership and what it reveals about character. Let's see here. Jameer.
Yes. One person that I think was a good leader during troubling times was Abe Lincoln. And I think he was a good leader, and that revealed his character. Revealed his character a lot, because he could have destroyed the South, really destroyed the South, and said, hey, or he could have said the South to keep their slaves and said, you can keep your slaves just to keep the Union intact. But he knew that slavery was wrong. And so he made the 13th Amendment to help free the slaves, because he knew that they were just human beings like you, like him, like any other man or any other woman. They should be treated as such. So I feel like that revealed a lot about his character. Not saying he's perfect, but I feel like that was some good character shown.
All right. Devin Jackson.
I would say Barack Obama, because he's like a very powerful person, and like what he did with his character, like that's about it.
Okay, so him president. What did that tell you about him?
So, like, he didn't like abuse his power being president,
Okay. Yeah. And he tried to be president of all the people, not just those who liked or voted for him. Okay. So, so from there, I'll throw out a couple other names. What being a leader? Tell me from LeBron James. What is that? What is him being a leader on his team? What is it? What does that reveal to you about his character? Anyone?
Jameer has his hand up, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jameer.
I think LeBron James is I think he's a pretty good leader. I think he can really truly help a teammate if he lets him, but he gets a little bit emotional, similar to how JR missed a shot, which I'm sure everybody would get mad at that point. But it was a tie game. The game wasn't over. And I feel like when he folded, the entire team folded. But also more times than not, he is a good leader. He picks his team up. And I would say that for the most part, he's doing a lot of work, but he's leading by example. I feel like that's his leadership style.
Good. What does President Trump's leadership style reveal about his character?
He's childish.
Childish. All right.
He seems
Anyone else?
He thinks he has all the
he's
power in the
irresponsible.
world.
Seems arrogant. Yeah.
He's never experienced
Devin,
everyone
what
else's
do you-
life. He's never experienced.
He doesn't seem to care about
Right.
his job.
Okay. All right. Well, let me ask you, before we move on, what does your parents are the leaders of your family. So what is your parents revealed about themselves to you in their leadership role as being leaders of your family? So let's see who, Devin, go ahead. Devin?
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I was talking. I was muted. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I would say that my mom, like, she gives me like lots of advice, and like the things that she learned, she always passes them down to me, and that's about it.
Jameer, I saw your hand was up.
Yes, sir. So my mother and my father work very hard. They set very great examples. Again, they're not perfect. Nobody is. I'm not trying to say that, hey, let them be perfect, because if you try to be perfect, you're really going to do very bad stuff to yourself. For the most part, they set a very good example. You know, they work hard. They go in and kill in out every day, even when they don't want to, you know, and they do that all for me to get me where I want to be. And I have to really appreciate that from them. And I hope I do the same thing for my kids.
Good. Anyone else? All right. We'll move to next deal, slide 10. This is something that is Hawthorne effect. This is something that's very big in leadership. Okay. Let me tell you, the Hawthorne, there were experiments that were done at the Hawthorne Works, which was a Western Electric factory outside of Chicago. Western Electric is no longer around, but Western Electric is now part of, or was part of, AT&T years ago, and Western Electric helped develop the computer chips and and everything communication-wise was made out at the Hawthorne work outside of Chicago. And it started off, they wanted to, this outside group wanted to come in and commission a study to see if workers' productivity would become better. They worked on a factory assembly line. Would they become more so they could see better? So what they started off was they came out, they set up, watched the workers work the assembly line, and they raised so there was more light so the workers could see better. And what they found was that production on the assembly line, the end product that they would make, they were more productive. They made more of them. And so they were like, hey, that's great. We figured out if people see better and have more light, they can be more productive. And so then they decide to see, well, what happens if we lower the lights and people cannot see as well as they're working the assembly line? And so what they found out when they lowered the lights was that they produced even more than when the lights were higher. And so as they started to delve into, try to understand what happened and why, what they came across was that the people worked harder and they were more productive by the simple fact they had somebody watching to see what they did. And giving that extra attention was a way of making them more productive. And so that is something that leaders use as being a leader. So how would you do that? Or how do you do that? So the example I would use is that if you want to go, I need you to make up your bed. I need you to clean the toilet, and I need you to help your younger brother with his homework. All right. She gives you those three things that you have to do before you can go out and do whatever else that you want to do with your friends. All right. If she comes and watches you while you make your bed, but she doesn't watch you when you clean the toilet or when you help your little brother, okay, the very fact you're going to do a better job at probably making your bed than you would be if she wasn't watching you. That's the way most people are. Or if she gives you a chore to do and she sits there and watches you do it, then like to clean the kitchen or mop, you're going to do a whole lot better job of mopping because she's going to give you feedback. Say, hey, you missed a spot here. You didn't wring out your water, enough times, to keep it clean. So by being a leader and paying attention to something, then that can tell people you need to emphasize and what they need to pay attention to. So just like if you're playing sports and your coach pays particular attention to what you're doing on one play, and he turns away and looking somewhere else on another time, typically you're going to play harder, try to do better when that coach is looking. And from personal experience, from at least my days as a young man, and we were on the basketball court playing basketball, I can tell you that the intensity of the game picked up when some girls came by and stopped to watch, and we all played harder. So think about, give me an example of what you think a Hawthorne effect would be that someone has done in your life when they pay attention to something. Anybody have an example? No examples? Oh, I got hands. All right. Jameer?
All right. So one example is when so on JRDC, you get like ribbons and awards and accolades for when you accomplish something. So for everybody, you want to get those awards and accolades. So you want to participate in events. So that's what you do. So make your uniform look nicer. So we participate in those events, and everybody participates in extracurricular activities in JRDC specifically. So they can make their uniform look nicer, get some good ribbons and medals and cords.
Very good. Devin? Did you have your hand up or you just left it up from before?
Wait, my hand. Wait, I won't. Wait,
All right.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say, like, when I'm doing the dishes, you know, my grandma, sometimes she'd be in the kitchen and she'd be like, make sure you like get that spot on the dish before you put it in the dishwasher like when I'm loading the dishwasher, basically.
Okay. Good. All right. Well, so Hawthorne effect. Any questions about that? Because that will be part of your homework assignment. All right. So, Brother Sykes, I'm going to give you more time next time, and we're going to move on. If you could actually, we're going to move down to slide 12, if you could, Brother C. So I wanted to go through, got really good responses from your homework. Is Diallo on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Diallo?
Hello?
Yeah, if you want to, so again, part of your homework was talking about looking at school. So again, you want to talk, I put, a little bit of your quote up here. You want to talk about, about diversity and what you think about having mandatory diversity classes. You want to go ahead and just talk a little bit to that?
Well, yeah, there's a diversity club at our school, but not a lot of people actually in it. I'm not even in it. And that's not good if we want to learn each other's cultures. So that if we maybe have it built in to one of our classes, then more people will learn each other's history.
Oh, yeah. I didn't put his whole deal, and if I mispronounce your first name, I'll just say is Mr. Martin on? Mr. Martin, are you on? All right. Simbrell, you want to talk about yours? Thought I saw him on Simbrell. All right. David Deal, you want to talk about yours?
Yes, sir.
He's on.
Hello?
Yep.
Okay. Basically about mine, basically my school is diverse, just like people wise, just because of the population and like just kind of where the school is situated at in the area. But in terms of just diversity in the school, like culture wise, I just feel like there needs to be more awareness to that subject, just culture based and just inviting more diversity to the school, period. Because in terms of just talking about different cultures and stuff like that, there's not any of that in my school at all. So that'd be it.
All right. All right. You want to go to slide 13? Is Jackson on? All right. Kamal Francis, you want to talk about yours?
Yeah, I'm on. So I've seen just in my first year at the high school, well, first the high school's majority white, probably say over about 90% the school is white. And most of the black kids there are there for on basketball scholarships, and teachers have taken notice to that. So more chances are given to the kids who aren't, playing sports, the people who are there paying the full tuition. I feel like they do that because of the money that they are giving to the school. And I also see the black kids are looked at differently than the white kids. We're looked at as the people who are supposed to play basketball, play whatever sport we're there to play, and that's it. We're not there to really be good in the classroom. And I also feel like the white kids are only ones that matter in that aspect.
Savion Gardner. Gardner, are you on? Gentlemen, we're not going to, so we reached the end, Brother Sykes. I'm going to give you extended time next time to cover. So a couple of things in closing. What I want to make sure for your homework, I want to make sure that you find and give me an example of a Hawthorne effect that you've seen. I also want you to pick out a leader and talk about what their actions are as a leader has shown you about their character. And so our next meeting will be July 7th. And so I want you guys to have a safe 4th of July. I know it says June 30th. It's July 7th. And when I send it out, I'll send out the corrected, but I want you guys to have a good 4th of July, and I want you to be safe. And the last thing I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to use a delegating leadership style. So I appreciate that you guys are interested enough and want to take your time to be part of this program. I know there's other things you could be doing. So I want to be able to recognize you when you complete this series of classes. And so I'm interested in suggestions from the group on what would be a good reward for all those that completed all their assignments. What would be a reward that would be interesting and motivating to you?
I believe some gift cards will be fine.
Gift card, all right. Anything else?
I agree with the gift cards.
Okay.
Gift card, cool.
Gift card is cool. All right. Gift cards it will be. So again, gentlemen, again, I thank you. And again, you guys have a safe 4th, and, make sure that you are staying safe, social distancing, and wearing a mask.